Good morning, thank you for coming. We're going to make a start. Just to make you all aware, we are recording. It's only showing our faces, so that you're aware. We're very pleased to have Greg come in, McLaren, to come and talk about Splaat and its introduction at the school, to listen to questions that you may have. We've also had some that come through on email that we've shared with Greg and he'll incorporate into his conversation. And if during the Q&A at the end, if we feel that there's any more questions, then I'll fire some questions his way as well. So yeah, over to you, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. My name's Greg McLaren. I'm founder and managing director at Splaat Photo. I started the business actually leaving school myself back in 2009. And the whole idea came from the fact that at school I had the school portrait, my school portrait, and that was it. I was involved in drama and I was very musical, but I didn't have anything to remember that element of school life, and I thought that was a real shame. And so that's really where the idea came from. We are a school photography company. We exclusively work in schools. And I suppose the objective here is for me to explain a little bit about how we work, and also to give you the opportunity to ask any questions you may have. The whole objective is to photograph school life and those school moments that you as parents don't normally get to see. So it's things like lessons or performances, school trips. If there's external workshops that come into school, we'll often photograph those workshops. But we want to give you an in-depth record of the moments in school that you don't normally get to see. Not just the school portrait, not just the school play that you may be able to watch. As a parent, we aim to give you lots of photos throughout the year. So we guarantee you the school portrait, any class photos, any sports teams photos, and then on top of that, all of the other events that we photograph. If your child features in the photo, you'll see that photo. Our platform is secure. Each pupil has their own unique access code that allows you to see their photos. And you can access it through your phone or on your computer or on a tablet. As I said, each child has their own private gallery, and you as parents can only see the photos that feature your child. Now, we work on a registration basis, so parents, you have to register with us. And as part of that registration, you're saying that if your child features in an image, you'll see that photo, along with other families that also have children in that image. So for example, if you register and there are 3 children in that photo, if all 3 children have a registration, all 3 families will see that photo. If there's a photograph of 3 children and 2 children have registration and 1 does not, that photo does not go anywhere. We have to be sure that 100% of the faces in the image have consent before that image is distributed. And how do we do that? We do that using facial recognition. You as parents receive notifications when new photos and videos are added. We aim to fill your photo gallery with images across the year. Videography is slightly different. We are invited to video the school plays and concerts, and we rely on the school telling us which children can or cannot feature in those videos, and we use manual sorting to do that. We're not currently using facial recognition in video. We do that. Your children's safety is our priority. It's one of the biggest risks for us as a business. All my team go through the same safeguarding checks that the school staff here would go through. So everyone has an enhanced DBS, there's a check of the children's barred list, we undertake referencing, etc. Everything that you would expect. And we're set up to operate in schools. So our software has specific features which are tailored for use in schools. For example, we can generate exports for the school to have images imported into their management system so they know who the children are on registration. We're fully GDPR compliant. We've been audited by a data protection solicitor. All data is securely stored in one of 2 places, either on our internal network attached storage in our office. We use Ubiquity and Synology, or indeed actually stored on Amazon Web Services. We use the London region. We never use the images that we take of your children for any other purpose other than to deliver them to you or to deliver them to the school. We're never reselling them. And if we did ever want to use images for marketing, we would of course write to you and ask for your permission before we do that. And that's really important. Once your child leaves the school, we will email you to say, we've received notification that your child has left. Your images will be deleted by X date. We normally give you 3-4 months to make your final downloads, and then images are permanently deleted. There's a few options, I suppose, for you as families. You can register for free, and once you register, you can view and once you've registered for free, you can then view everything free of charge. We do that deliberately because we want to tempt you to buy. We want to deliver you with wonderful photos of your children's experience, and we find the best way to do that is to showcase our imagery. So that's the first thing, it's free to register. On top of that, the next option would be to buy individual prints. So if you'd like to buy a print, you can do so. If you want to buy a print package, you can do so. I think our basic package is around about £47, and you can mix and match images in that package, and those images are posted to you. A lot of parents wait until the end of the year before deciding to order their package, because you can buy a portrait, a class photo, a photo of the school play, perhaps a photograph of your child scoring a goal, for instance. And then our most popular option is what we call annual access. Annual access is one payment. Most of our customers buy that annual access right at the start of the year. You get access to our promotional pricing. We gift you free prints. This year we gave away £150 worth of free prints. You get a sibling discount as well. You get access to videos, a whole host of perks. A family portrait session as well in the summer term. And you will know that privately you're spending more than £200 for that occasion. And that's all included. So annual access is the most popular option, but of course it's an option, one of 3 options. Our photographers, when we're in school, we really try to be a fly on the wall. We don't want to disrupt the learning that's happening in school, and so often we're using zoom lenses, essentially. So we're not needing to get too close to the children. Often the children don't know that they're being photographed, but that's certainly what we try to do. We try to capture natural photos. We're not asking the children to pose. We're just documenting their school day. We'd like to try to be as invisible as possible and just let the children enjoy their time. We're trying to though give you a better experience. As parents, you're probably used to that school portrait. You may be given access to the class photo. You may have had the opportunity to perhaps buy photos at sports day if you're lucky. But generally, at the schools that we're speaking with, it's the school portrait and maybe the class photo, but we want to give you more. I'm really happy to answer any questions that you've got. I would say, we're a small business, I suppose. I've got a full-time team of 9 in my office, and we genuinely care. We're not this large corporation where you phone and you have 6 different options when you're phoning us. You'll get through to a real person, someone that sits opposite me, and so if you do have questions, please do contact us. You can always email us. Our main email is team@splaatphoto.co.uk. My personal email is greg@splaatphoto.co.uk. You're always welcome to email me if you've got questions or concerns. We often find our first year working with the school is very much like a fact-finding mission, I suppose, for you as parents. Seeing the sorts of photos that you're going to receive to then decide maybe if you're going to buy in year 2. Now, actually, we've had a really good response this year already. But I do appreciate as parents, this is a brand new concept, I suppose, and so it's entirely reasonable for you to be assessing that as the first year goes on. So thanks so much for your time. Just to reiterate, if you do have any questions afterwards, you're very welcome to contact me directly. My email is greg@splaatphoto.co.uk, or you can contact my office. But yeah, really happy to answer any questions that you've got now if you'd like. Thank you.
I have a question. So can you just tell me again, in a school play, from a photo point of view, not video, photo, if my child is on stage and there are other children on stage that are not given consent, do I get those photos or not?
No problem. So in order...
I've got them.
I've got them too.
Okay.
We've got, because we know as a year group, we know that there are children who have not given consent for, and as parents we're kind of aware why they haven't given consent. But I'm sitting, the majority of my gallery is of group photos with kids' faces blurred out. So I can't buy them, I'm not going to buy them, but also if the whole premise is that we won't get those photos, we're getting...
No problem. So there's a few parts to this here. So by default, we will only deliver photos to parent galleries if 100% of the faces in the images are identified. Now, there may be some instances where parents are perhaps requesting more photos, and in those instances we may blur the faces of children before we deliver to you. So we're anonymising the faces before they're delivered. But our software, by default, will only ever deliver if 100% of the faces are tagged. Yes, sir?
So do you have image right permission from the parents who have opted out to use their children's image for commercial matters?
For what matter, sorry?
For commercial matters. Because what you're doing, as I understand it, and certainly leading people I've talked to, you do not have the permission to take a photograph if somebody's opted out. But you are offering that image for sale on the open market. I am not aware of any other way of giving you the image right to sell the image. And let me just clear up, there's very clear case law that says blurring the face is not anonymising an image, because you're still using the image. The easy way to think about it is hand and foot models. It's still their image even though you don't see their face. So actually I think at the moment you are using images of children for commercial reasons without the permission of their parents, without the permission of their parents to use it for commercial things. You're probably breaking GDPR because you're storing without their permission as well. And frankly, the school is enabling it.
So, okay, so I think there's a few bits there. So, from a parent point of view, we don't require parents to opt out. We are opt-in. So parents, if we don't hear from parents, we assume that they're not registered with us. And so in that instance, we don't have a reference photo for that child to use for any facial recognition analysis, meaning that none of those faces can be identified, meaning that we then don't deliver those images.
But
because we
deliver those images.
Because we only deliver if 100% of the faces in the photo are tagged, unless we're anonymising the face. Now, my legal advice says that if the face is anonymised, the face is blurred, it is an anonymised image, and that's maybe a matter of difference of opinion here that I'm happy to talk about. But we're only delivering identifiable photos of children if the parent has if the parent's registered with us. If they're delivered otherwise, it's because they're blurred.
So, anonymised image, I disagree with you on that. My first point was, do you have the permission of the parents who haven't opted in to use their children's image for commercial matters? That is what you're doing.
So, I suppose if we maybe break this down into two parts. So, our basis for processing is legitimate interest. And so, as a school, the school has a list of children that can't be photographed. We have a separate list, and actually, I know, for instance, based on the blurring that we've had to do on some videos, that list is different. And so there have been children that have registered with us, but have asked the school for no photos to be taken. Our service is designed for parents who register, and if parents haven't registered, we're not delivering those photos, of course, unless they're blurred.
Sorry, you didn't answer my question. I asked the question around, do you have the permission of parents to use their images for commercial matters if they haven't opted in? If you keep answering around GDPR, this is a different issue.
Can I try and answer just, and I might answer wrong, so Greg, please correct me on this. So, you're saying that the images, if they're blurred, I think it does come back to this blurred point, because if that child is blurred, on the basis of the legal advice they've taken, they're anonymised, so they're not being used, that parent, in terms of giving their commercial rights of that child, the image rights of that child, according to Greg and what advice he's taken, they're anonymised. If the photos are not anonymised, then you would need consent. That's where I'm sort of trying to read between the lines on that.
I don't believe that is correct.
Okay.
From talking to it.
Mm-hmm.
The anonymisation possibly and arguably gets you over GDPR. It does not get you over the use of images of a minor for commercial reasons without the permission.
But they're not in that photo.
They are in the photograph, Headmaster.
Okay.
They're very clearly, we are being...
So they're not anonymised.
No.
When you say they're very clearly, there's clear photos of children that haven't got consent. That's the bit I need to work out, because then I agree with you.
So, one, blurring face is not anonymisation. Be very clear. If a child is Mary in a nativity and her face is slightly blurred, it is not anonymous. We know it is very clearly identified. And GDPR will be very clear it is not just facial recognition. But there is a separate thing about image rights of minors. And I believe you are taking images of minors and selling them for commercial reasons without parents.
Only to those families that register.
But that's not true, sir.
So
You
can
are
we
selling them
talk
for
about the registering bit? Because I think that's where I've fallen over. I think, and maybe you can say, well, you should have read it, so I'll put my hands up, is we had to register to decide whether or not we liked, we were then up for signing up, otherwise how on earth do you know? So we have then subsequently not signed up, but I'm now not sure which camp we sit in terms of what I have or haven't allowed you to do. And yes, I've been very clear with the school about, and I think that they're adhering to that, what I've said. Because we had the appreciate it's a different topic, but we there is so much going on with deepfake, and I'm very do not want my children as much as I can on the web because I want to protect them. And images, you can watch all the videos, I'm sure you've seen them, they're absolutely terrifying. Once a child's image is up there and then used for all sorts of horrible things. So this register, I know you said registering quite a few times, and I think that's the bit that I want to somehow, I need to kind of get myself opted out of completely, I think, because I didn't realise by saying, yes, I can, me personally, look at the quality of your photos to suddenly having signed up to social media, which is probably because I didn't read the small print.
No problem.
Can I just say one bit before that? So you've highlighted the exact reason why Miss Hartley, before leaving, looked into it from a safeguarding perspective because of the exact reasons that you've given there. Now, in terms of having worked in lots of different schools, in your housekeeping before a performance, for example, you say you'll feel free to take videos and photos, but please do not share them on any social platforms. That's the only thing that we say. We can't monitor what parents then go and do. So for me, that doesn't sit right, especially when we've had parents who have voiced their concern so deeply, making a point that they do not want that happening. Now, as a school, unfortunately, we can't monitor any further than just saying that 1-2 lines that every school does. So that's why then we've looked into what other options there are, other than just saying there's no photos or videos and any keepsakes are completely gone. So we've tried to find a middle ground as a school. In terms of monetising, we don't make any money from this as a school. I want to make that clear as well to all parents. So this is the option that we've looked at to try and get over the line. So yes, there's teething problems, and the direction we go in will be shaped by our community. That is my vision. But I suppose more so in terms of what was just said, if you could further answer on that.
Yeah, no problem. So the first thing to reassure you about is when we're delivering photos, we deliver to you as parents and we deliver to the school. You mentioned social media marketing. We would never share any images on our social media channels without the explicit consent of you as a parent. So,
but have we, because like I said, I've not read all that, have we given explicit consent by signing up to the platform?
So I obviously would need to run a search on your child's name to be able to tell you that. Perhaps afterwards I can do that for you. We are optional. You don't have to register with us. That's the first thing. Now, we can only process photos of your children if you give us consent to do so. And so we need that consent before we do it. And so what we try to do is give you the opportunity to register for free and give your consent for us for free, so we can then show you the quality of work. And we hope that will persuade you to see and retain all the lovely photos that we capture. You then have a few options once you've registered. You can buy individual prints, you can buy print packages, or you can buy annual access. But essentially, once you've registered, that's when you can view, and you can't view beforehand. If you're keen to see the school portrait, of course, and you don't want to register for the full service, no problem, we'll make that happen, you can let us know. But in terms of what...
Could I have registered whilst, had I, what does registering opt me in to, or my children's image, I understand I can see the images, what else am I agreeing to?
Understood. So you're agreeing, so when you're allowing us to photograph and film your child, you're allowing us to process using facial recognition. There's agreement to our privacy policy and terms and conditions that you're also making. Essentially what it means for you as a parent is that photos of your child you can view, and so can the other parents that also have children in the same photo. So for example, if there's a photo of 3 children and all 3 children have registered with us and have consent, all 3 families will see that photo. If there's a photo of 3 children and 2 have registered and 1 has not, that photo is deleted. We're only delivering if 100% of the faces in the image are delivered, with the exception of blurring. And that's generally if we find that there's specific requests from some parents that would like to see more photos from specific events, we'll go into those events to then blur the faces of the children that we don't have registration for, so that you can then see them. Now, if as a school you don't want us to do that, that's no problem, we can not do that, and my sense is that some parents would rather us not be blurring those images, they'd rather us delete them. We can do that, that's no problem. But
you couldn't use them anyway. So rather than quality photos,
Yes.
more quality photos than the situation I've got now.
I understand.
75% of the photos I couldn't print out anyway because I've got kids with
Yeah.
blurred faces.
So you've opted in, and
Yeah.
therefore, but you're saying the quality of what you're getting is.
So I'm not judging the quality of the photographer. I'm certainly not doing that.
It as an image.
But there's
It's odd.
If I can say,
certainly my previous photos of the school Christmas play were certainly better in terms of me being able to zoom in on my own child.
I
I've
really
now got
appreciate that.
like
If-
75 photos of blurred faces, which
Yeah. So if I could say, there's 2 things I'd like to do. So firstly, if I explain the reason why for some images we're blurring faces to then deliver is to give you as parents more photos. Now I appreciate what you're saying, that you're not necessarily going to want an image of lots of faces blurred, I understand that. If there's an instance where you wanted, for example, more photos from a specific event, I'd be very happy to make sure, or to ask my team, to look at those photos of your children, and perhaps we produce some additional crops so that it doesn't feature the faces of other children, so that the meals are looked
shouldn't that, does it make more sense for that to be happening automatically? Otherwise you're going to be doing here's another for me, here's another, like
We try to. We actually do a really good job of it. Our photographers will take, on the whole, the majority of images like portrait or small groups rather than like wide shots. So we do, on the whole, do that. I'm just trying to go above and beyond.
But the registering in social media still hasn't been on. Sorry if I've missed that bit. I'm still not clear if by registering, even though I'm now not paying for your service, whether or not a picture of my child could be on social media.
Certainly not through us. So I'll just say, yeah. So what I'll say is, in terms of registration, once you've registered, we will deliver photos of your child to you and to the other parents that also have children in the same image. We won't use those images on social media. We, like any school photographer, share images with the school, and then the school can decide which images they want to use. But no, from a registration point of view, we're only delivering to you or other families that also have children.
If a parent has decided not to give you consent to photograph their children, do you still take photographs of them and then afterwards delete them or blur them out?
So there's a few parts to this. So our backstop safeguard is because we can't identify those children because they've got no reference photo, we haven't registered them on our system, those faces will not be identified. Therefore, we don't know who to deliver them to. Therefore, there will be a face in the image that hasn't been tagged, and so it's not sent out.
But you still take
Generally-
a photograph of them.
The next part is, when we're working in the school, often the school will guide us about who we can and cannot photograph, and that's quite normal. That's always been the case with any school photographer. When a photographer comes into the school will help direct or tell the photographer which children not to photograph. So I'd say generally those children are not being photographed. Generally our schools are really good at advising us, but there's always that final safeguard.
But if it's not a child at great risk and that is why they're not being photographed, but the parent just does not want them to be photographed and they have not given you consent, you're still taking pictures of them?
Generally not. Just
But
make
you-
sure
but
the
you-
school. All I
But you
say.
said that the photographers don't know which ones have obviously a little
So I can give you an example to that. So yesterday we had a photographer in, and Miss Appleby walks around every classroom with that person, so with a list of permissions.
And that
So
teacher
that's the added layer. What Greg's not committing to is saying that 100% of the time it happens. I would
generally,
also say, because we've had a change in marketing, that there may be human error within that built in over the first couple of weeks of this happening this term. But beyond that, once Miss Appleby gets up to speed with the children, not just their names on the sheet of paper, but the image of the child, then we would hope to get to as close to 100% as we could. So that is the added layer that we've tried to build in as a school.
and schools generally are really good at that. You know, we've got a member of staff right next to the photographer going, oh, that child needs, and we do it really sensitively, of course, but they'll be saying, oh, that child can't be photographed, and we'll just make sure that we're framing the shots so they're not shot. And that's been the same before our involvement. All school photographers have to take that in mind and, you know, take into consideration. Yeah. We're just trying to add extra.
I just want to, on the way here with my daughter, I don't know my opinion about this photograph situation, but they asked why we come to school early, and I told them I want to listen to the talk, and my middle daughter said, oh yeah, mummy, there is someone that always is, sometimes takes photographs, and they've got really big cameras, and she was basically saying it's not comfortable, and my other daughter commented the same. She was like, yeah, it's not a normal part of the school day to have someone with a big camera.
Okay.
It isn't like normal, is it, to be at the playground, someone's there with a big camera, or at play date, or at school, like you're at your swimming lesson. It isn't like a...
It wouldn't be a
It's
swimming
quite
lesson. Just
Pardon?
we
I
wouldn't
know
take
you're not
it
going
as
up in their
a
face,
swimming-
but still
swimming
just
lesson.
being there in the classroom, someone you and your teacher and your friends,
Yeah.
to have a photographer there, it isn't...
If-
I don't like the idea of it.
Okay. No
It's
problem. If I
very
can try
different
to.
to a school portrait. That's, I think, different. We're having a school photo, but the everyday things.
Yeah. If I can try to reassure you, our involvement taking those photos is no different to what would be happening anyway. Schools always have photography happening in schools.
The only difference is the quality of the camera. if I'm
But the
honest.
difference is when we don't know, these are people we don't know. She's like, I don't know these people, they're not my teachers. So it isn't comfortable for her. That's what she's told me.
Understood. It's
So
only
just to let you know that children aren't, well, my daughters aren't comfortable with it.
understood. It's a small number of occasions per year, of course.
But they're
I'm
not
sorry.
comfortable.
Okay.
I think and we've spoken on the phone before Christmas, and part of the challenge I have with this whole situation was the way it's handled by school, because what I've got in my mind is at the beginning of September, it was announced that this was happening. There was no consultation, and if the school isn't making any financial gain, then really having an option of what service we use and how that worked in the school, there should have been some consultation with us, but it was just, this is what's happening. And now we've gone to the point where at the Christmas play, there were teachers literally monitoring the parents. Like that is not the way this whole communication should have happened, because we didn't get a chance to ask any questions. We didn't get a chance to see. Yeah, I mean, if you read the chat, so I mentioned to you our parents' chat it's an emotive topic because it was done to us, not with us. And unfortunately, it means that Splaat stood here in the environment because there wasn't a proper consultation, there wasn't a proper, this is what we're thinking, these are the options, this is what it would mean, what are your questions? It was done to us. And that has meant that in a blind panic, you've got people registering, but not and I was in the same boat, not reading the terms and conditions, and that's on us. But you launch something in the beginning of September, I'm trying to work out what the school uniform is. I haven't got time to read all this stuff, and it was done to us. And I think the problem we've got now is that we're trying to unpick what we should have been given time to do beforehand.
Fair point. We take that on board.
And it just feels odd, doesn't it? It feels odd that you can't take a picture of your own child at a nativity because we've opted out, but yet somebody else can. And we've got the other. There was one parent. The timing of in some ways doing it early morning makes a lot of sense for people to go to work, but I think because drop is normally at 8, I think a lot of parents have unfortunately been able to come.
That's why we are recording it as well. So we said that. Just
I'll say also
one parent has opted in, but she said that there are no images of their child, of the nativity. So not only was she not able to take a picture of her child during the nativity, she now does have no photos of her child of the nativity because there aren't any of yours. And I think so I appreciate that's a different point because obviously that's less about kind of privacy and stuff like that. But
could I just say that that parent that doesn't have photos from the nativity, can she write to us? Because we will have them. We will have them. It's just maybe a case that we haven't taken the portrait of her. It could be any number of things, but we will have the photos. Please ask her to write to us. I will say, obviously, I can't speak to the school, but we work in a large number of schools, and it's really normal. And I'm not speaking for the school, but it's incredibly normal at the start of the show for the school to say, "No photos, please." We see that every time at all of our schools. And I think probably the reason why schools prefer for us to take the photos is that they know that my photographers with the camera have had an enhanced DBS check, have safeguarding training, have been checked off the children's barred list, have had referencing. We're set up as a business to protect the photos that we take. You know, we're not sharing images on social media, they're stored securely on enterprise grade servers. I think that's the reason. I won't speak for the school, but that's normal really.
so I haven't checked the social, but again, I don't know if it's this hysteria or something like that, but I have definitely heard people say there are images on social media. Now I don't know how, maybe it was a parent but I think that probably does need to be.
And if there is an image on social media, that image would have taken place being with Splaat or without Splaat, because that highlights the fact and the point and the problem that we have as a school is that if a parent's going to do that, they're going to do that. We have no way of monitoring it other than the WhatsApp groups. So it's no different. That's not a Splaat
It
issue,
might
that's
not,
a community
I don't
issue.
think it's, I'm not sure that person was saying a parent uploaded it. I don't know, but I think we do need to look into.
And in terms of the nativity, and then we're going to come to your question because you've been waiting very patiently. In terms of the nativity, unfortunately I wasn't there on that day, I was in a hospital bed. But I don't know the messaging that was given, but the messaging should have been that if you wanted to take an image of your child, you could have taken one at the end on their own. Now I don't know if that was relayed, but that was the way so that you did still have a keepsake. That was what sort of was the point of trying to implement. But again, I wasn't there to pass that message on, which I can only apologise for. So I don't know what messaging was
They
given.
did say that we could.
Okay. All right. Let's ask your question. Please.
And we've been in contact before on this one. To my mind, there's a disjoint between what you say and what you're allowed to do. So when you sign in, we are giving you rights to sell the images of our children, and until about 10 days, there was no rider on who you can do that with. Your terms and conditions said you could sell it to whoever you wanted. Now, I acknowledge that you wouldn't. I hope you wouldn't, but you had the right to. And more to the point, you go bankrupt or you sell your company, the next people have the right to sell the image to whoever they want to. You've tweaked your terms and conditions a little. It's reasonably pointless because first clause is we reserve the right to change this at any times, and then the bottom goes we will only sell to parents. Well, that's pointless. So if I opt in, I am still giving you the right to sell the image of my child to anybody in the world. I'm not comfortable with that.
Understood.
I'm really not comfortable with that. There's some nasty people out there. If you go bankrupt, the bankruptcy means they have to monetize the asset.
Yeah, okay. So what I'll say, that's a few things. So the first point, to be just really clear, if you're not comfortable with our involvement, please don't register.
But you still take and try and sell the images of people who don't register.
No, I'll say a few different things. If you're keen, if you don't want to register, don't register. But also, if you don't want your child photographed, tell the school. And then again, when we're in the teaching staff, we'll make sure that your child is not photographed at all. That's the simplest solution, I suppose, for you. In terms of how we store images, once your child leaves the school, we will write to you. This is assuming you've registered. We'll write to you to say we've been notified that your child has left the school. Your child's images will be deleted on X date. We generally give you 2 to 3 months to make your final downloads, but after that date, they are permanently deleted. Now, of course, like any business, well, our terms and conditions were written by our solicitor, and my legal advice is that my legal advice is that our terms and conditions are correct and on par with what you would expect for a business operating in our industry. I can say with absolute certainty that if we were to go out of business, I would release the images to the parents, so you could make your final downloads, and then they would be deleted. These images are of children. I don't think that any responsible liquidator would make those images available to others or sell them. It's just not going to happen. You know, under liquidation, that just wouldn't happen. And certainly, if I had anything to do with it, that absolutely would not happen. Luckily, the business is secure and stable, and we're not going to go out of business, thank goodness. But yeah, from a liquidation point of view, I wouldn't imagine any liquidator would try to sell those photos of random children to random people to earn revenue to pay for our costs. I really reject that.
But look what's happening in the world. Like, you cannot believe what's happening in the world. Like, obviously, if we're normal people, we think that's what we're having, but there are some sick people.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I hope...
And we don't have control over it. That's what's happening now, isn't it?
Greg, can I ask another question that we've been asked? So if I was to sign up tomorrow, would I be able to see images of my child going back to the beginning of the term?
Unfortunately not, it's only going forward. So we would need to take the school portrait that we've taken and add it to our system, and then any future photos that are added, you would then be able to see. So it's only going forward.
Okay, and if there's no opportunity for me to see those other photos in terms of parents that have already received photos, there may be images. You're saying that wouldn't be the case.
So it's quite difficult for us to do. I think if there's a parent in the community that's really keen to register and see photos from their nativity, write to us, we'll do what we can. It's not an automatic thing that would happen. But I'm always happy to look. I want to deliver the best experience for your school community. And so if there is that specific ask, yeah, please ask parents to write to us.
And is your advice then on an individual basis, if there are images, which is some of the murmurings that I'm listening to, if it's in the galleries, which is the photo side of it, if a parent has any issues in terms of their child being shared in photos, they should write to you on the email that you've said, and you will be able to go through tooth and comb with that individual.
Absolutely, yes. We're really keen to hear from any parent.
Can I just clarify on the deletion? If, say, little Jimmy leaves the school at the end of year 3, you've stated that you will delete any photographs of little Jimmy.
Yeah.
Does that include all the group photographs that little Jimmy is in?
Yes, with the exception of the class photo.
So it doesn't include all the photographs that he's in?
It's every photo with the exception of the class photo.
And when utility shows and theatre productions and group photographs?
Yes.
So therefore,
We lose access.
so the other parents would then lose access to that photograph?
If they haven't purchased, yes. My hope though is that those parents would have bought and therefore would have already downloaded, because the photos happened, nativity 8 months ago.
And do you tell them that you're about to delete their images?
Yes, everyone receives a notification from us.
And you said you could go back in to the headmaster's question, you could probably get the photographs of people who hadn't opted in before and reproduce them. Is that correct?
We'd have to act quite quickly. It would depend if the photos have been deleted yet.
But
we're in January.
But you would have them. If you haven't deleted them, you have them.
If we haven't deleted them, we would have them. Do we have them or not? That's why we don't. And if I can just finish, that's why we say to parents, if you register after the fact, we can't promise them a back date because we may not have the photos available. We're always happy to look, but we're not sure, and I think it's probably unlikely.
So the implication of that is that you are actually keeping on-blur imagery of people who've opted out, because otherwise you couldn't go back.
Yes, and that's why we say generally we can't do it, because generally they have been deleted. It just depends how close to the event it's been. You know, we were in yesterday. Those photos have not been processed yet, so we'll have those photos.
Can I ask something? I don't really want to opt in to Splaat, but I would like to take a picture of my daughter at sports day. If I don't take a picture of other children just sooner than that, are you still saying that I can't do that? Or as a school? I don't understand why I can't.
Part of the reason
Sorry,
getting
my
Greg
budget
in.
is tight.
No,
It's
it's
more
fine.
than a food shop to opt in. There's 2 children. I just want a picture of my child. I don't understand why you have to monetize it. And my other daughter's at a school where they don't have this option, and they do say don't do it. And I understand that people then you don't have much control. I do understand this completely, but if I just want to take one of just her when she's running her race or whatever she's doing, or if she was in the church and she was standing on that lectern by herself, and I would have loved to take a picture of her then, but without no pictures, I don't see why I have to pay for you to take a picture, and then I buy it off you.
So the same way that message in the Nativity was that if you wanted to take a photo of your child at the end, still in their outfit, for example, that you
It's
could.
not the same. It's
On a
very
sports day, that's something that we're going to have to consider, because on a sports day, as you say, they may be doing long jump,
Yeah.
and therefore you can only have your child in the photo. So we're going to have to consider what that looks like for those individuals as well. So
But not the
that's
teacher,
not
in the
concern.
church. Sorry.
No, go on.
In the church, but it was just her.
On the lantern, yeah.
Yeah. And I could have very easily taken a picture of just her without anybody else in it and sent it to my grandma, who lives in Norway. We had a photo. Did you see it? No, Mummy couldn't take a photo because I can't. Well, and then I explained to her the reason. She said, what? Like, it's baffling.
If I may say, and again, I'm not speaking for the school here, I'm only saying this based on my experience visiting all the schools that we go to. Across the vast majority of the schools, there is just a blanket no photography by parents.
Is that independent schools though?
Independent and state, actually, and probably I'd say independent schools are stricter with that than state schools.
Yeah.
It's just a blanket no photography. So if you're being allowed to take photographs at the end of nativity, I never see that. I saw it maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't see that anymore. And if you're given that opportunity, you're quite lucky.
I mean, to be blunt, schools have to do that, or else you wouldn't get any money. So I think the sample that you're looking at is an incorrect sample.
I don't understand it, sorry.
Not wanting to be blunt.
Schools that aren't signed up to Splaat.
Yeah, if we were allowed to take it, no one would sign up to you.
Yeah.
I know. I would trust the parents of my kids, classmates, because I'm probably going to be with them for 18 years, more than I trust a company who's between the rights to sell imagery.
So I've seen examples, and again it comes back to that trust, which is completely right. But let's give an example. So a photo is taken of a class production with all the children in. We've said at the beginning, please do not share this on any social media. Social media does actually include WhatsApp, but a parent will send maybe to grandparents to a WhatsApp with the video or the picture. That grandparent may then like it and potentially, not thinking about it, put it on their Facebook potentially, or share it with someone else. It's then when it sits outside of the community, the school community, where our worries are. Within our school community, I'm sure, but the reason why this situation in this school is more delicate is for a number of different reasons. There are some significant reasons, which I can't really go into, that children are not allowed to be in any photos. So as a school, we're looking at two options in terms of no photos at all, just to protect those children, because safeguarding is for every child, or we have to find another alternative. Have we got it right? I'm going to wait to see how this lands, and we're going to review, because there's lots of points that are being made which we need to look into further as well, which I want to delve into as the head as well. So that's sort of where we are as a school at the moment. And you will have seen it's not just a safeguarding around photography. We've also talked about parents coming on site. We've done a lot in terms of that as well. So we're trying to do the right thing. Have we got it right yet? Maybe not, but we will. But that's only by listening to our community and working with you.
But I'm right in thinking that our nativity video ended up on Splaat, unblurred.
Absolutely on blur.
So the videography, so this is where we need to work with Greg in terms of the photography galleries. That's something, as you said, that is AI recognition, face recognition, which will blur children. With the videos, we need to work closely with Greg in terms of going through that. And I think this is, from what I've heard, the nativity was the sort of, when the preview video I think came out, there maybe was a breakdown in communication in terms of which children should have been on there. So what I want to do with parents is separate the gallery in terms of the photos, which, listening to Greg, should be 100% no mistakes, and then the video sits separate to that, and we will correct those sides. So those are the two bits that I want to look into with parents to make sure that Splaat are doing what they say and that the images that are being shared are correct as well.
I haven't seen this, but from the WhatsApp groups, parents have said that they have registered, signed up, bought the package, and they're getting sent pictures of children and none of their children are in those images, so it isn't 100% your system.
I would want to know the specific details. I would be incredibly surprised if that's happening.
I don't think
The
they make it
software,
up.
I'm not saying I make it up. I would be keen to see it with my own eyes. In the last 3 years, I haven't seen a photo that's been incorrectly put into the gallery.
Just to add to that, and I was saying to Greg beforehand, and those numbers may change, but out of a parent community of around 270, I've seen a list where over 200 parents have signed up and given permissions. So we are talking about potentially
Permissions.
on Splaat in terms of signing up. No, not separate to the school. So this was a separate document I've seen. So when you first join the school, in your admissions form, you give the consent for photos and images, and we're also going to work on what that looks like. If continuing with Splaat, we'll put one on there as well. So that's something that we'll do. But in terms of the list that Splaat have provided us in terms of sign-ups, it is over 200 with the
We've
list.
had a really good
Isn't
response.
that based on registration of us all sitting here going, I've not...
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, that-
Could be. But
I
if they've
own
given
that
consent, if they have
I own
registered
that.
and signed up,
Oh,
then
they-
that would be the next step in terms of delving deeper into have they moved to that next level.
And what I say also is if you as parents change your mind and don't want to register, write to us. We can permanently delete
We've got
them.
no access to it. Literally, we keep going around, it feels like we're going around in circles, because then we're in a position where we've got no photos of our child.
Yeah.
Like,
But you can't do it both
No,
ways.
no,
On the
you're
privacy, the stick goes
absolutely
out there.
yes,
The-
you're absolutely
The
right.
alternative to Splaat, we tap them over the legalese here.
Yeah.
We don't have photos.
No,
There's
you're
no
absolutely
scenario
right.
we
Yes.
get to take a video of the nativity or we get to take photos.
You're absolutely
So I think
right.
you've got to be pragmatic.
I agree, and I think the service is really good. When we sign up for you for the school to take photographs, you assure us you won't sell them to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Splat are not giving us that assurance. Splat are reserving the right. They're saying they're not going to. I'm sorry, I've dealt with too many contracts in my life.
We will only sell to parents. We will only sell to parents.
So put that in legal terms and in your rights. The more you say you won't, but refuse to put it in legal terms, the more I'm thinking, what's he hiding?
I believe our terms and conditions do say that.
They don't, Greg, because you put first clauses, I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. And that's my thing is, I don't want to give up the rights to my right to my son's image to be sold to anybody in the world.
So I think the first point is reviewing, but from our side, as a school, we are only going to work with recognised partners who you put your trust into us, the same way we have to put our trust into other companies, and that's where our responsibility lies. So I've listened to the points about all these deep fakes and things going on. We have to put due diligence when we were making a decision around doing this. Have we gone for the sort of halfway house idea at the moment in terms of trying to cater for the whole community, potentially? I would suggest potentially reviewing it from a legal side. We can look into it as a school as well, just to make sure, because we want to work with recognised partners who are trusted in the same way that parents trust us with their children every day.
I mean, if I know it would give me and a lot of parents that if Bellevue would legally stand behind this.
Mhm.
But this is a private contract between you and Splat, and schools going, whoa, nothing to do with us.
No, we're definitely not doing that. That's not my approach to anything. We work very closely with Bellevue and take advice from them. So when we agree contracts, yes, we have autonomy in terms of making the choices of who we use, but that's with advice. I'll never make a decision without having spoken to the community in terms of my senior leadership team, staff. In this instance, as you say, we take on board that parents weren't informed before to be part of that decision making. It's a very fair point. And then the final layer for me is always education directors or Bellevue. So even before this conversation, I come in from that side. We also have our own legal team that supports myself on lots of different matters that will take advice on things like that as well. So I can definitely, from my side, go back to them with some of the points raised, listening back to the recording, and raise the questions from a school perspective as well.
And I'll also reshare my terms and conditions, and perhaps it can be shared with this video. My perspective is it's really clear that we will only ever deliver photos to you as parents and to the school, and we will only sell photos to the parents that have children in the images. So I'm really clear on that. The final thing I want to say, and this is probably more for the benefit of the video. I appreciate I'm in a room of parents with specific concerns, and I understand that, I hear you. I would like to point out that we've had a really good response this year, and both parents registering with us and also buying from us, we've been overjoyed by the response. Certainly, given we've launched this year, it's been a really positive year with really positive, strong uptake. And I will just say, kind of what you were saying, sir, given where schools sit now in terms of allowing parents to take photos and videos in school, you kind of have a choice. And in the schools where I visit, schools often are saying, no photography, no videography. We're trying to fill that gap. We just want to deliver a great service and give you access to memories of your children across all the things that they're doing. I care passionately about what I do. I behave honourably and with integrity. And I talk about your point there. If the business was to be liquidated, I certainly would not allow this. I mean, I don't think it would happen, but I genuinely, sincerely care about what we do and the experience we're trying to provide you as parents. But I would just say, if you maybe look at what other schools offer, generally schools that don't use us just say no photography and videography.
Thank you for coming in. We have overrun, but Greg, thank you so much for coming in and to put the ideas forward and answer some difficult questions. We will also look further into those questions as a school. All I can highlight is please do, as parents, if you have any concerns, you've got the main man's email address. Go directly to him and go directly to me if needs be on this. We will work with you to get this right. I will delve into, it's going to take a bit of time, but I will delve myself into some of these galleries because I want to see firsthand also what is being shared so that we've got an idea as a school. But thank you for voicing it, and Greg, as I say, thank you for coming in and dealing with some questions, and let's move forward as a school together. And I hope that this all goes back to safeguarding. As a school, that was the reason it was implemented. From our perspective, it was nothing to do with money. It was to do with making sure that we protect every single child in the school, and also to give you an insight. We've talked about nativities, we've talked about those big performances where you get to see them. I'm a parent at the school as well. You might say I get to see my son in his classroom maybe more than you do, but there are sometimes some magical moments that things do happen in classrooms that as parents you're never aware of. And sometimes you may have the child that I had a good day. What did you do? I had a good day. And that's all I'm going to get. So we're trying to factor all of that into these. So thank you very much for coming in. Safe journeys home. And if any more contact, please reach out. Thank you.